Disney has its share of tragic villains that are either so misunderstood or so captivating that you can't help but like them, despite their wickedness. Some villains, though, are so vile that their deaths are certain. Exactly who are these baddies, then? This is the kind of villain for whom the audience eagerly awaits the inevitable demise. Here's a list of such villains that we are aware of. To begin with, we have Syndrome from The Incredibles. Imagine if one of these toxic fans had the brains and financial resources to use against those they adore or loathe. Toxic fans are among the most challenging people to talk to. As a result, Buddy, better known as Syndrome from The Incredibles, becomes an irritating genius. Buddy is a Mr. Incredible admirer who has turned wicked. Syndrome is unlikable in every way, and he harms the reputation of geeks. He even kidnaps a baby to seek vengeance on Mr. Incredible. This is why there is a huge sigh of relief when his plane explodes after he is dragged into a jet turbine by his cape, followed by the plane falling. Following that, the Wicked Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The evil queen is one who started it all by trying to have a huntsman murder Snow White and extract her heart. This is how she got the name Evil Queen. If that fails, she disguises herself as an elderly witch and attempts to poison Snow White. Both of these murder attempts were motivated solely by her envy of Snow White. The Evil Queen was also the figure who popularized a cliche that has long been employed for villains. The Evil Queen's first appearance is important not just because it was the first, but also because she is struck by lightning, and the cliff crumbles under her feet, allowing her to fall before the boulder she was attempting to use to kill the dwarves falls on her. The vultures had finally finished consuming her complete corpse. This is poetic justice at its best, all while hiding under the guise of a sad old witch. Moving on, Clayton Tarzan. Clayton, a liar, a traitor, and an animal trapper from one of Disney's best non-musical films. Tarzan is a liar, a traitor, and an animal trapper who hunts some creatures for the pleasure of it while catching others for financial gain. Clayton is proven to be a callous guy who treats people as though they are beneath him even before his malicious acts are revealed. This was made feasible by Brian Blessed's excellent portrayal as the adversary. During the crucial battle with Tarzan, the arrogant Clayton becomes entangled in the vines and begins to casually slice any vine that gets in his path. As a result, he flies through the air with the vine wrapped around his neck, resulting in a vertebral fracture that happens just off the screen. Anyone would be pleased to see his dead corpse swinging from the ceiling. Next up, Scar, the Lion King. What kind of person murders his brother, sets up his nephew to bear the blame, and then arranges for his nephew to be murdered? Scar is King Mufasa's younger brother in The Lion King. Scar would say or do anything to get what he wanted, including blaming the hyenas for all the evils that have transpired. He was finally betrayed and devoured by the hyenas after their struggle. This was the last straw that broke his neck, even though no explicit violence is portrayed. Seeing the victim's shadow fall is fascinating because it enables the viewer to build their own narrative of what occurred. Following that, we have Hopper from A Bug's Life. It's always pleasant to see an oppressor get what he deserves. Not only does the ant colony turn against Hopper and his grasshopper gang, but he also meets his greatest fear. Flick lures Hopper away from the colony, where a songbird awaits. The bird is charming to humans, but it is the equivalent of a kaiju to Hopper. Despite this, the bird does not eat Hopper. Instead, it catches him and carries him back to its nest, where she feeds him to her young. Is it sinister, gloomy, or torturous? Yes. Did Hopper earn it? Without a doubt, given he is one of Pixar's most wicked adversaries. Moving on, The Rescuers Down Under, Percival C. McLeach. Madame Medusa is a villain in the first Rescuers film, yet she is immortal. McLeach, her successor in The Rescuers Down Under, on the other hand, is a villain who, although amusing, is still a nasty person. He does it for the excitement and the money, but he's much nastier about it than Clayton is. He kidnaps endangered animals. McLeach attempts to kill a little boy, just attempting to spare the animals' lives. As a result, even though it would have been more pleasurable for him to be digested by the crocodiles he attempts to feed the child to, he instead follows a well-known cliche. He then screams in despair as he falls over a waterfall and into his grave, while the animal he abused just waves goodbye. Next up, Gaston, Beauty and the Beast. Another villain suffers a physical downfall. The Beast has long been a fan favorite, whether in the animated original or the live-action rendition starring Luke Evans. In the animation, he is shown as an arrogant Adonis figure, whose ego is so huge that it blocks out the sun, transforming him into a ferocious beast. On the other hand, Luke Evans' character is a psychopath who has post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, and a superiority complex. He cannot stand rejection in any form. He attempts on Belle's father's life even before committing him. Because both forms of Gaston are equally vicious in their ways, it is difficult not to cheer when he smashes through the castle ceiling where the beast dwells. Following that, Dr. Facilier, Princess and the Frog. This scene from the Disney film The Princess and the Frog. Dr. Facilier, a cruel and charming witch doctor, turned a prince into a frog so that he might control New Orleans. Facilier did this to grab control of the city. When his strategy is proven to be a failure, his opponent's companions show themselves hostile and transport him to what the audience perceives as the criminal underworld. Even if Keith David imbues the part with charm, comedy, and an elegant voice, Facilier remains the epitome of pure evil. His incredible incredible to see such a serene and self-assured man reduced to his polar opposite, pleading for his life and frantically clinging to the belief that he still has a place in this world. Next up, we have Mother Gothel from Tangled. Mother Gothel from Tangled is the personification of vanity. She is a witch obsessed with immortality, so she stole an enchanted princess as a baby and raised it as her own in a lonely tower. Her conduct demonstrates gaslight manipulation, dishonesty, and cruelty since she seems to adore Rapunzel but is just concerned with herself. The audience is incensed by everything she does and hopes she receives the worst punishment that she acquires as a consequence of Flynn removing Rapunzel's enchanted hair, depriving her of her source of immortality. Gothel aged so swiftly when she descends from the tower where she imprisoned Rapunzel that she may have lost decades of her own life. In the process, Gothel is reduced to ash, the perfect ending for the wrong person. Moving on, Judge Claude Frollo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Frollo is unquestionably Disney's deadliest villain. He almost drowns a newborn, murders its mother, raises it as his own, claims his mother is the one who tried to kill him, and then educates him that everyone will only despise him. Frollo worsens during the Hunchback of Notre Dame as he pines for Esmeralda. He resolves to burn down Paris to reach her and her people, either compelling her to be his lover or burning her to death as a witch. Frollo commits practically every transgression he pledges to avoid, justifying it all as performing God's job. This darkness makes Frollo's death so cathartic, as the church's gargoyle comes to life and breaks off, causing them to plunge into the hot oil he was pouring to destroy Paris. Following that, Oliver and company, Bill Sikes, collided with an oncoming train. Bill Sikes wanted Jenny Foxworth because he planned to take her hostage for a significant sum of money. He followed her and the other key characters through the streets, and the animals tried all they could to rescue her. While Sikes was distracted by Oliver and Dodger, they managed to pull her out of the path of an approaching train. He flung the two animals off, sparing their lives, and then realized he was heading directly toward an oncoming train. His demise was both quick and severe. Finally, in The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie Boogie's body shattered. Jack Skellington pulled a loose thread off Oogie Boogie's outfit during their fight. The cloth tore from his body as he untangled it, revealing a swarm of insects underneath. His body was of bugs, and without any clothes to bind them together, they started to fall off and drown in the molten liquid. It's a horrifying image as Oogie loses his identity and his voice in the swarm of insects. The merry old elf had no pity, squashing another of his tormentor's mini bugs. Well, that marks the end of the video for today. We hope you liked it. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.